The Village Board meeting to order, July 22nd, 2024, 6:01 p.m. And we'll begin with roll call.
Anastasio.
Here.
Doxy.
Here.
Bhatia.
Here.
Washburn.
Here.
Venturini.
Here.
DeGroot.
He's here. Next on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the next item on the agenda is public comment. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments on any matter. Please fill out a comment form and the president will recognize you. Use the microphone and state your name and address for the public record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. I have a gentleman, Harry Schultz, signed up for public comment, but I also see that you're signed up for the public hearing comment as well. Harry, were you wishing to speak twice or just the one time?
Well, I don't really understand it. I think on South Greenway Road, the developer's going to make a presentation. Is it possible to comment after the presentation?
Yes, exactly. And that's that would be the public hearing part of it. If you wanted to speak specifically to that ordinance, that'd be the time for you to speak. Because otherwise you'll tell your same story twice. So I'm assuming that you want to keep your comments on that business item that's in front of us at that time, right? Okay. So then you don't have to speak at this public comment point for anything else. Anybody, did we have anybody else signed up for public comment? Jill? Okay. Anybody else wishing to speak public comment for anything that you want to speak about? Going once, going twice? Okay, we'll close public comment and then we'll move on to the next item. We have a consent agenda to approve.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second, and we can do this on a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that motion carries. So let's move on to new business. We have discussion, possible motion to approve the nomination of David Karras as village trustee to fill the unexpired term of office of the Village of Mount Pleasant trustee number 1. I had some notes on David. But I had sent a letter around to the trustees, just touting Mr. Karras's experience and time within the village, longtime resident. He's involved as a small business owner in the village. He's involved in the community as well, being on his homeowners association group. I believe that he'll be an excellent addition to the board, and look forward to the members approving him. If you want, we can bring him up to the podium and have him say a few words on his behalf.
I think we should.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry, Dave.
No, that's all right.
So this is where you get to defend yourself on all those allegations that are made against you. No, just feel free to share your thoughts, Dave.
Yeah, like I said, what I'm looking for is to actually just be part of a good community, help people. I have owned a small business. I've worked for a large corporation. I'm scaling back a little bit as far as work is concerned, and it will be nice to be able to get more into the community and a little more involvement with the people. So it would be a great opportunity. I did get an opportunity to get into the Public Works Committee. Definitely enjoyed that and look forward to this opportunity if given.
So if you've noted, this is for trustee position number 1. No pressure.
I'm sure the number one spot just is a spot that's designated as a number.
Go in order, so.
Anybody have any thoughts or comments for Mr. Karas?
Well, I just think it's great that we have a business owner in our community stepping forward. I think that as, after trustee Hewitt resigned due to his health conditions, you know, it's interesting talking to people as we try and recruit people to, in this case, we're appointing. So Mr. Karas will have to be reelected next year, but it's very interesting how, in talking to the public about this role as trustee, they're afraid of it. And I find it to be very rewarding, as I shared with Mr. Karas. I find it very rewarding. I have a long history of working here in the community from your side, you know, bringing business into the community. And I find it very rewarding, and I hope you do. And we welcome you. It's, you know, business owners understand that there's a hierarchy, there's business, there's human resources, there's finance departments. You know, that's basically what we are, is a nonprofit, so to speak. So I really am glad to see you here as a business member of our community, and welcome, and we hope you enjoy for a long time to come.
Thank you.
I would like to echo what Nancy said, and I had the opportunity also on the Public Works Commission to talk with Dave a little while afterwards of the meeting, so it seems like he would be a great addition to the team here. And it is difficult. It is a challenging position because there's a lot to learn, but there's a lot of support here to learn it. And we have training for new trustees and things like that too, so you won't have to know everything coming in off the bat. Not that any of us do, but I hope that you, in fact, I would like to make a motion, Mr. President, if that's okay, to approve the appointment of David Karas as village trustee to fill the unexpired term of Mount Pleasant Village Trustee Number 1.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Ram, were you wanting to speak?
No, I was going to, you know, because as you mentioned, it's a trustee number 1, and I wanted to make the motion or second the motion from the bottom of the food chain, but I missed the opportunity.
Wait, that would be me.
Well, I'm close to you. We welcome you. Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna let him off easy?
Well, all I can say is, Dave, is that I was in your shoes 1 year ago. I used to have a full head of hair.
Oh, that's not true.
That is not true.
Nice try, though.
Less
Jeff.
haircuts.
No, you'll enjoy, I'm sure, again, with your experience, you'll enjoy being involved with this, like you said, this village. It's a great staff, it's a great group of people to work with, excellent fellow board members, so yeah, if everything goes correctly when the vote happens, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, we better gavel him in before he changes his mind,
Yeah.
based on your statement. So in the matter of trustee David, roll call?
Anastasio.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Venturini.
Aye.
DeGroot.
Aye, motion carries. Welcome to the board.
No, Jill will schedule that. Okay. So the clerk will, you're welcome to stay. The clerk, Jill, will reach out to you for your swearing in sometime this week. Okay?
Okay, let's move on to ordinance 16-2024. We've got a public hearing regarding that. So what this is to amend the Mount Pleasant Code of Ordinances, Division 90-435, regarding fences and walls. The following rules apply to public hearings tonight. If you wish to speak, fill out a public hearing form on the table next to the entrance. Once I recognize you, speakers will come to the podium and identify themselves with their name and address. Please speak clearly into the microphone. Speakers must direct all comments towards the board. I will not allow interchange between members of the board and, between Members of the audience and the speaker do not interfere with nor interject comments while another person has the floor. And please keep all comments on the item before the board and at most 5 minutes. And finally, please turn off or mute all electronic devices. So in this first matter, the fences and walls, Sam Schultz.
Mr. President, this ordinance change is largely three parts. The first is grammatical cleanup, so you were provided a red line version as the second part of Exhibit A in your packet. As you read through, it's mostly a consolidation and a grammatical cleanup of the existing ordinance. The second part of the ordinance is it clarifies that only coniferous trees or evergreen trees or hedges are planted to function as an opaque fence are subject to the applicable fence and wall height regulations. We didn't want anyone cutting down deciduous trees, like your oaks or maples, if they happen to be on the property line and were considered a fence. Most of the time, people aren't planting those trees for fences or walls. They're planting evergreen bushes, which are applicable to the fence and wall height regulations. And then finally, what we did, in light of a couple variances that we received for wall height, primarily in our business park districts, instead of setting a strict 8-foot to 10-foot wall height limitation in those districts, it says that if someone wants to go taller than the standard wall height in non-residential districts, they can apply for what we consider administrative site plan alternative compliance. So they'd have to submit us a landscaping and screening plan and essentially lay out why they need a taller fence or wall. Some considerations in the existing administrative alternative compliance section include if they're a utility operator or if they have outdoor equipment that's taller than standard, that they might want taller screening apparatus. Most recently, this has come up in both the Microsoft site plan and ATC's site plan to expand their substation, both of which are pretty large mechanical equipment that sit outdoors. They wanted taller wall heights, and we've been approving multiple variances. The Board of Appeals has approved multiple variances for those. So whenever we receive multiple variances for the same item, we like to take a look at the code and bring kind of some changes to you that, grant the same level of, review, but take it out of the Board of Appeals realm and turn it into something that we're considering in the actual ordinance. So this is what that does.
Okay. So at this point, I invite the public to speak on this particular item, the fence and wall ordinance. I don't have anybody signed up to speak on that. Was anybody here for the fence and wall ordinance? Not hearing from anybody, I can then close the public comment on that, and I look for a motion to approve it.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve ordinance 16-2024, amending Mount Pleasant Code of Ordinances, Division 90-435, pertaining to fences and walls.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board on that? Plan Commission?
We discussed this at the Planning Commission, and again, the Planning Commission went through all the changes proposed by the staff, and we didn't have any concern. I think like the staff always, under the leadership of Sam Schultz, they do a good job proactively to update the ordinances, so we stay current, with not only with the state statutes and also what we learned from the feedback from the residents. So it's a proactive move, and the Planning Commission approved that, recommended for the approval.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that it's going to be making it more efficient, I presume, to not have to turn things down and then go to an appeal process, that you would be able to make that decision.
Well, I think Mr. Schultz said it right. If the same thing is coming up again and again, it just gives you a reason to look at it.
when we rewrote the zoning code too, that was one of the discussions we had in those early meetings, was trying to eliminate, at that point, zoning board of appeals was being called for all sorts of, fences, garages too close, or 5 foot here, 5 foot there, and the whole idea behind the code was to try and make it more simple and clear so that those kinds of sort of nuanced ZBOA items didn't need to be held. So this is a great addition to this. And again, because of TID 5 and the enormity of the structures there, this will now allow us to streamline those so that they don't have to come before the zoning board.
Excellent. So in the matter of ordinance 16-2024, roll call, please.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Venturini.
Aye.
DeGroot.
Aye. Motion carries. So let's move on to ordinance 17-2024. We have a public hearing regarding that. South Green Bay Road zoning map amendment, ZMA 24-6, and South Green Bay Road conditional use, CU-24-3. That's the one that Harry wanted to speak on, but we'll get to you in a minute. Mr. Sam Schultz, not to be confused with Harry Schultz.
Mr. President, the applicant applied to rezone the property from RL1 to RH1 and for a conditional use for a 32-bed CBRF. The RH zoning district requires a conditional use for community living arrangements for over 16 residents. And per the conditional use requirements, the number of residents in a group living use may not exceed the number of bedrooms in the building per the ordinances. The application follows the residential, including Church's multifamily recommendation of the land use element of the multi-jurisdictional comp plan. The draft site plan does not comply with the transportation element of the comp plan, which shows Graceland Boulevard extending westwards through the northern portion of the property. The applicant must either amend their draft site plan before they submit for a full site plan review, or amend the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. Neither the master bike plan nor the parks and open space plan contain any specific recommendations for the subject property. The draft site plan meets the lot and building regulations of the RH1 zoning district. However, the applicant must apply for full site plan review for the village staff to make a final determination. I handed out an updated site plan for your all review, which did incorporate a couple of comments that we received from neighbors at the Plan Commission, namely one showing the landscaping and screening around the north and west side of the property where some of the utility and drive areas are. Most of those are required by ordinance, and we would have that comment when it gets to site plan review, but the applicant proactively updated the site plan there to show where that screening will be. And then the applicant also moved the back utility area 10 feet off the property line. The minimum is 5 per the zoning code, but some of the neighbors asked for 10, and so the applicant moved it back there. Those are the major changes you see updated in the site plan that I put on your desk in front of you. The application would still require full site plan review. So what you all are reviewing tonight is just the conditional use in subsequent zoning. So essentially, is this property okay for this 32-bed community living arrangement where it is? The draft site plan does not follow the standard parking size space design requirements, including some of the measurements I laid out in your code. And they also will need to provide a 20-foot lane for fire access. Those are all pretty minor. They're all pretty close to the site plan, so we'll work with them on tweaking it should you choose to approve it tonight. In terms of administration procedures, this follows both the zoning map amendment and conditional use procedures, with the specific conditional use for number of bedrooms that I laid out below. The village staff believe the application passes decision criteria for conditional uses and partially meets criteria number 2 because the fiscal analysis shows the cost of services are negative over a 40-year period. However, the revenue to cost ratio is even. The application would meet criteria 4 and 6 of the conditional use procedures if the applicant amends the site plan to construct the northern local roadway. Regarding the roadway, there was a fair amount of conversation about it at the Plan Commission. You can see the comp plan on the screen in front of you. That roadway, staff are essentially hesitant to say it's needed. We've certainly heard some feedback from the residents that they would not like it to go through. We think its utility is probably pretty minimal. We can consider a comprehensive plan amendment to remove it in the future. I don't think we as the village staff would, have an issue with that. But while it is on the comp plan, the DOT is looking at the property and saying either access should come from the local road, not 31 as the frontage road. So while I don't think that should affect your decision one way or another tonight, just know that as we go through the site plan review process, there will be some coordination with the DOT in regards to how the site gets access, whether that's 31 or the local roadway, should we choose to leave it on the comp plan. The fiscal impact analysis is in your spreadsheet. It, like I said earlier, it has a 1-to-1 revenue to cost ratio, and it would pay back its public liabilities within 12 years. For additional considerations, as I just said, the applicant did not provide evidence that the DOT will allow 2 connection points to Green Bay Road. We believe it's probably unlikely that DOT will do so. However, so we believe the site plan will likely change, but if the applicant can provide that evidence, we'll work with them and the DOT. Additionally, the village staff believe the site, which lies along a state trunk highway, is a good place for infill density. So for these 32 units, the building proposed is only 1 story tall, but due to the adjacent roadway width, the site could actually support greater density than what's shown. So they're coming in at less dense than what we would expect to see here. So we think this is a move in the right direction along a busy road. Both the village staff and the plan commission unanimously recommended approval, subject to the conditions contained within the endnotes, which is the applicant must apply for site plan review. They must either amend their site plan to add the connecting roadway or apply to amend the transportation element of the comp plan to remove the connecting roadway on the north side of the property, and to modify their site plan to meet the parking area layout and design regulations of the zoning text.
Some of us might have questions for Sam, but let's hold on those until we get to that motion. Because right now we have to open the public hearing for ordinance 17-2024, South Green Bay Road zoning map amendments, EMA 24-6, South Green Bay Road conditional use, CU 24-3. Same rules apply in terms of the speakers, but I know that Mr. Harry Schultz has signed up for comment regarding this business item. So if you'd like to head over to the podium and state your name and address for the record, we're ready to hear from you.
My name is Harry Schultz, 539 Newman Road, and I have one question. I was wondering if this project falls through in some form because of the conflict with the Graceland Boulevard, does the zoning still change?
It's a common question. We're asked this all the time. Sam, would you like to respond to that?
The zoning could change, but the conditional use limits the use of the property. So, someone would have to apply to potentially amend that conditional use or come in back with a different site plan that complied with the zoning regulations.
But the zoning's permanent, huh?
It's not permanent. It could change back if you wanted. The board controls the zoning always, so it's not permanent one way or another. They would approve this change here. If the board wanted to change it to something else in the future, they would have to go through the same process that we're going through now.
The only other thing I would say is I asked the developer and owner to change the landscaping, move things away 10 feet and so on, and it seems like they've done that. Is the developer going to present what he's got for a plan tonight?
No, he's not here tonight.
Now, the site plan is only a draft one. This is not the review application for the site plan. It's just considering the use of the property.
Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, so not hearing from anybody, we can close public comment on the hearing, and then I'll look for a motion on ordinance 17, 2024, and CU 24-3.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve ordinance 17-2024 for a zoning map amendment for South Green Bay Road ZMA-24-6 and the South Green Bay Road conditional use CU-24-3, subject to the recommended conditions.
I'll second that.
So I hear a motion and a second. So anybody have any comments or questions for Sam?
Well, I'd like to add the comment again to echo what Sam said, that it is, this motion and tonight is for the zoning only. Once the zoning is approved, then the site plan will come, and like you said, Mr. Schultz, you said that I'm also pleased to see that from the planning commission, the developer has, made adjustment to your concern that you presented at that time and put some barriers like trees and so forth. But still, when the site plan come to the planning commission, that's where you literally, you look at with a fine comb, you cross all the T's and dot all the I's and everything, and I'm sure that under the leadership of Community Development Director Sam Scholl, the staff will look into those, and any concern that you may have at that time, the Planning Commission will address that, but for now, it is just to rezone.
Will they notify the neighbors of that meeting?
Sam?
We don't send out specific letters for that meeting, but everyone can go on the village website, sign up for meeting notifications for the Plan Commission. Then every month you'll get an email when the Plan Commission packet is uploaded to the website. You'll just receive that, so you can keep an eye out on the agendas for when that goes out.
Right. Keep in mind, there's some economics that's involved in this. The developer, really isn't going to give us anything beyond a preliminary site plan proposal, because a full site plan and the grading and the stormwater containment and all of that stuff, costs a lot of money for them to do. And they will do it, but they're not going to do it unless they know that they have the opportunity to get the zoning that they need to go to step 2 of everything it is that they have to do on their due diligence for them and for us.
I thought of one other thing. There's a drain tile that drains some of the basements on Newman Road. It probably goes to this property.
And all of that gets looked at that point in time.
Well, I don't think anybody knows where it goes to, but I suspect it's on the south end.
Mr. President, we do have Lindsay Weber. Lindsay Weber, our village engineer, is here tonight. And to Mr. DeGroot's point, President DeGroot's point, under the developer's engineering study, they're going to have to provide a complete set of civil engineering plans that will include stormwater management. Now, as part of their title work and as part of that due diligence, they will have to locate any existing utilities that we know of. Lindsay, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this area. Do you know of any large storm sewers that run through there?
I have not looked at this area yet, but we run into drain tiles a lot with large developments, so that's not uncommon, and we do have standards for addressing them so that they don't lead to issues on neighboring properties.
So in terms of addressing them, they need to locate them, they need to determine what their new route would be within the site, and then provide us the engineering studies that show that that's adequate, and we'll take and make sure that none of the properties flowing through there are going to be backed up or negatively
Correct.
impacted.
Most commonly, they get intercepted and rerouted, typically into a storm sewer system, so that flow continues.
And should they run into them in the field, just because they didn't find it through their studies, their study under the engineering plans, if they find them in the field, then there's inspectors there on our behalf that are watching out for that to make sure that if they find them and they were unknown in the engineering study, that they have to, again, figure out how they're going to be rerouted, how they're going to be terminated, and to make sure that the property they're coming from is not negatively impacted. So we watch out for that pretty carefully, Mr. Schultz.
I think the drain tiles dated back to when the houses were built. This would be around 1955.
Again, this is about zoning approval right now, and all of your concerns are going to get, are going to see the light of day as we work through that process. This is, again, just a hearing and a vote to determine whether the zoning is appropriate for what we're trying to do here. I do have a question for Sam, and it just goes back to the Graceland extension, because if I'm seeing this right, the subject property here has residential lots right in back of it and to the side of it, and so the extension of Graceland Avenue at the most would just go to the western boundary of the existing site, right?
Yeah, we only require developers to extend public roadways if they are on the village map to their property boundaries, so it only go to their west side. But the DOT would require that Graceland line up with its, across the street. They won't let it offset. And so I think the consequence to leaving it on the map is the village would have to look at acquiring some of that northern property for that intersection. So there are consequences to leaving it on the map. And then also, you wouldn't want to extend a public roadway without a plan of how it's going to complete to the next public street, which does go through some other neighboring properties as well. So I think that's why we are, as staff, have never really looked at that roadway as something that's likely to ever happen, because we assume that the village board is never going to want to go out and acquire a couple properties for that very short roadway extension that doesn't really serve a ton of traffic purpose out there. But this is the first time this property's come up for a true development proposal, so no one has looked at it in detail until this time.
Okay, and given that the preliminary site plan is already showing two ingresses to it already, don't really need a third ingress.
And we certainly do not. The hanging question is how many ingress-egress points the DOT will allow in that stretch of roadway, and we'll just have to work with them through that process.
It's not likely that they're going to stack three of them in a row together.
Oh, definitely not. I think 3 is impossible, 2 is a
not
maybe,
sure we're gonna
and
get
1 is likely. So
Right.
we'll just work with the DOT on that.
Right, okay. Anybody else?
Just that during the plan commission, there were neighbors there. Mr. Schultz was there as well as a few others. But I think that in general, we all agreed from a zoning perspective, this is a great use for this property. It's a CBRF in terms of its business model. So, and we have a huge need in our community for more residential housing to serve people that, the elderly, as well as those that are handicapped or have physical disabilities. So it's a great use for the property, and that was something from our perspective tonight for zoning it that we felt was a go.
Okay, so in the matter of ordinance 17-2024, ZMA 24-6, and conditional use CU 24-3. Roll call, please.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Venturini.
Aye.
DeGroot.
Aye, motion carries. Let's go on to discussion possible motion to enter an agreement with Realty Income Properties, 19 Inc., and Walmart Real Estate Business Trust related to Racine County Circuit Court case numbers 2022 ZV 884 and 885.
Mr. President, I make a motion to authorize an agreement with Realty Income Properties 19, Inc. and Walmart Real Estate Business Trust related to Racine County Circuit Court case numbers 2022-CV-884 and 2022-CV-885.
Second?
So I hear a motion and a second. This is something we just discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting, just before we came to the board meeting here. But being that we have Dan McHugh here, would you like to just touch the highlights for us?
Yeah, what we are hoping for is that the board will approve the settlement. We've been in litigation with Walmart on their 2 properties for the past several years. And this settlement agreement that we have here, I think, is in the best interest of the village and gives us the best settlement that we had.
So that being as it may be, the motion is in front of us, and we'll do roll call on that.
Anastasio?
Aye.
Doxy?
Aye.
Bhatia?
Aye.
Washburn?
Aye.
Venturini?
Aye.
DeGroot?
Aye, motion carries. So let's move on to Public Works. We've got discussion, possible motion regarding the award of contract for the Lake Park Bluff mitigation project.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to award the contract for the Lake Park Bluff mitigation project to the lowest bidder, Veet and Company, Inc., in the amount of $1,706,900.50.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. Is that something that Lindsay wants to speak on?
Yes.
I sure do. No, so this project is nearly 4 years in the making. We started pursuing the FEMA grants late in 2020. This is a really amazing opportunity to address the ongoing erosion along the village-owned parked property on the Lake Michigan Bluff. This project will improve overall safety of the park as well as protect village infrastructure that is adjacent to the bluff. The grant is a 75%, 25% cost share with FEMA covering the larger portion. And in your packet, you have the bids that were received. Awarding the contract to Veet puts us in a good position as their bid did come in below the project estimate, which is ideal.
Yeah. I want to.
But
I just want to compliment the department for going after the grant and for doing whatever. I'm sure it wasn't an easy task to make this grant if you've been working at it for a couple of years, but we certainly appreciate having FEMA pay 75% of the cost of this. And also, on the previous bluff mitigation, was that also partially grant funded?
That was underway before I got here. That's a better question for Tony. I don't know if there was any cost share for that one.
Yeah, but this is a nice way to complete, the land that the village owns.
Yeah.
Now will have protection, we hope, from the lake, the erosion. Well, good job to you guys.
any other thoughts? Okay, so the item that's in front of us is the award of contract for the mitigation project. We can just do a voice vote on that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So that motion carries unanimously. Reports, anybody got anything for the good of the cause?
Well, Mr. President, I do have to bring up something to, as people may be aware, the Racine County Fair is starting this Wednesday. I'm a big supporter of the fair. My kids were in 4-H. Once they aged out of 4-H, I missed the fair and all of that participation. So today I spent the day, I was a volunteer, and we were doing the open class judging of all of the antiques and so forth. You all are missing a lot of fun. You need to dig into your closets. Everybody has something they can submit. I mean, honestly, we saw some of the most amazing things. And it's just a great atmosphere to be in the backstory like that. I also submitted my jam and jelly, which I have been the overall jam and jelly queen in the past. I'm hoping to regain my crown. I will be happy to share with everybody. That judging is tomorrow morning. But having said that, support the fair. It starts Wednesday, and I hope everybody has a great week at Racine County Fair. That's it.
Okay.
Being the Italian on the group, then, Roma Lodge Festival is next week. They have great Italian sausage and bombers. Please support the Italian.
There you go. Yeah,
I second that.
lots of things to do. Lots to do
Oh, that's
right now.
Sorry, Denise.
One last motion.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.